So I mentioned before, we're going to use a form and we're going to populate an Excel spreadsheet. So what I want to do first is I want to set up my form, and I've already got a form set up. So I'm going to come back to my 365 homepage and I'm going to click on Microsoft Forms. And I've already set this up ahead of time. I've got this digital skills appointment request. And this is really simple form. I've got my form user to enter their full name, a description of the support request, preferred date for an appointment, preference for morning or afternoon, preference for online or in person. And you can set up your own form. Maybe I'm trying to think about a digital journalism example. Maybe you want to record consent for an interview, perhaps, or consent to quote somebody. So you would probably just want to record their name, maybe their email address, and maybe do a little tick box that says, so if I just do a new choice, you can do a choice here, a new question with a choice, and say, do you consent for your for your interview to be used in an online article or something like that. So this form is all set up, and all I have to do is I just need to do collect responses, and I can then send a link to people who I want to complete this form. I also want to set up my spreadsheet in advance to record the data that this form will collect. So I'm going to go and open Excel. I'm going to create a blank workbook. And I'm going to give it a name. I want to save it somewhere important. That's really important. I'm just going to save it in my files, my documents. Item already exists. Okay, it's already there. Perfect. And I'm going to call it something meaningful. I'm going to call it digital skills appointment request. And I'm going to press enter. Saved. It's auto saving. So I've got this little cloud with the tick. Okay. Now, Power Automate will only be able to populate a spreadsheet if the spreadsheet contains a table. So I need to start and create a table. So I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to press Table. And I want to press this My Table Has Headers. And what I basically want to do is I want to create a column for each field in my form. So I want to do my person's name, their request, their date, morning or afternoon, online or in person. So that's 5 fields. I also want to record their email address. And you can see that there's not actually an email address field here. And we'll come on to why that is a little bit later on. So let's go back to Excel, which is here. So I want 6 fields. So 3, 4, 5, 6. You can just drag that over. And we're going to do name, email, request description. We're going to do date, preference, AM, PM, online, in person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Go back to here, name, request. Perfect. And what I also want to do is go to table design, and I want to give this table a meaningful name. This is important, especially if you've got a big spreadsheet with multiple tables. Not as important because we're doing quite a simple exercise, but it's always good practice. I'm just going to call it the same as my spreadsheet. Digital skills, appointment, request, and press enter, and I can see that we've got the name up there. And it might be, you know, that you've got a different sheet for each month of the year or each quarter, and you have a different table. So maybe you would then just call your tables January, February, March. Maybe you've got one for each academic year. So you would maybe just do 24, 25, 25, 26, etc. So got our spreadsheet set up, got our form set up, and now we want to set up our automated flow. So we've come to the Create tab, and we've got a few different options. So I talked about having desktops. That's something a bit more local, running on your computer rather than in the cloud. We don't want that. A scheduled flow will happen on a schedule, so maybe it runs daily, weekly, monthly. You know, it might be that you want to send an email reminder every month to somebody. That's when you would use the scheduled Cloudflow. So it's to do with a specific time when something happens. We've got an instant Cloudflow, which means we need to have a manual trigger. Maybe it's a button that is pressed somewhere, you know, maybe in Microsoft Teams or in an email. But what we want today is an automated Cloudflow, and this is a trigger for to use when something happens somewhere else. So maybe somebody sends an email, and when that email comes in, we want the flow to be triggered. In this case, we want this flow to be triggered whenever somebody submits a new response to this form. So I'm going to click this. And we'll call this Digital Skills Appointment Request. Okay. And I'm just going to press skip down here. Oh, and it's not given it a name. That's because I pressed skip. Digital Skills Appointment Requests. And press save. And it's not going to let me save because I haven't got any trigger or actions. So this is the interface. This is what it looks like. I need to add a trigger to start with. So I'm going to click that add a trigger. And now I can search for all of the triggers that I might want to include. And you can see you've got a bunch of different things. You've got things for Microsoft Forms, Teams. It's very overwhelming. So this is why you need to have an idea of what you want to achieve with your flow beforehand. So I'm going to search for Microsoft Forms, and there we are. Microsoft Forms when a new response is submitted. I know it's a trigger because it's got this little trigger tag. So I'll click that, and that adds the node into my workspace. So now I need to set up my parameters. I've got all of these different options, and today we're just going to be probably focusing on this parameters tab. I need to select a form to use. And when I click this, it will populate this list with all of the forms that I have created in my Microsoft Forms. So I need to have a little look through, and here we've got digital skills support appointment request. Okay. And we are ready to go. That's the only parameter for this particular trigger. Now we need to add in an action, and that's something that happens once the flow has been triggered. And in this case, something that happens when a new response to my form has been submitted. So I can click the plus to add a new action. Okay, we'll allow that. Add an action. And what I need to do is I need to get the newest response from my form. So we'll look for forms again. There we are. Get response details. And I want to find the same form again. Digital skills support appointment request. And now I can either create a custom expression, which we're not going to do. We want to use this little Thunderbolt for the dynamic content, it's called. And what this does is this allows you to populate the parameters based on content that has been pulled through from the previous step. So what I want to get is the response ID, and you can see you've got a little description, unique identifier of the response. Okay, and again, very simple. We've only got two parameters on this node. So we've got our response submission. When that response has been submitted, it triggers the flow, and this next action will pull in the details of the newest response. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start populating our spreadsheet. It might be actually that I want to add in a new column on my spreadsheet. Let's add in insert table column to the left. We can actually just pop in response ID. It might help later on if I'm triaging my appointments to the team. It might be helpful that I can use a response ID rather than a name or an email address, just for data privacy reasons. So you don't have to include it, but depending on your circumstance, it might be good practice to do that. So we want to now add in an action. And we want to find Excel. Okay, I can do see more, and I get all of the things I can do with Excel Online. And what I want to do is for every new response, I need to add a row into a table. Okay. Now you can see that as we've added this, we've got a few more parameters to use. So I'm going to go to my location, and depending on what Teams channels you're part of, what SharePoint sites you're part of, that is going to populate this list. This spreadsheet is currently saved in my personal OneDrive, so I want to select OneDrive at the top. But if I was creating this for the Digital Skills Ambassadors, then I would save this Excel spreadsheet in this group. But for the purposes of this demonstration, it's saved in my personal OneDrive. Document library is just going to be OneDrive. Again, this will change depending on where the file is saved. And now I can click this, and it allows me to navigate through my OneDrive. You can see I've saved my spreadsheet here. I've just popped it in the top level so it's easy to access for this session. So I will select that spreadsheet. And then I need to select the table from that spreadsheet. So you can see why you need to name your tables appropriately. Okay. And when I've added this in, you can see that this advanced parameters box has gone up from showing 0 of 1 to 0 of 8. If I just press show all, you can see we can just ignore this time date format. Ignore that for now. I can just press that to remove it. You can see that we've got our 7 column headers that we inputted to our spreadsheet. Okay. And that's going to make things really easy for us when it comes to populating these the rows in our table. So response ID. Again, I could pop in a custom value if I was familiar with coding, but I'm not. We want to add a dynamic value. So this is now going to bring up the options I have in my form. So response ID, I've conveniently called it. We want the response ID. Name. Enter your full name. This is populated with the questions that I've asked. Now email, I don't have a question for email, but because we're using Goldsmith's Microsoft 365 environment, it automatically will record the email address of whoever fills in the form, whoever submits the form. And I can turn that off, but it's a manual step to turn it off. By default, it will record the responder's email address because responders have to log in order to access the form. They have to log in with their Goldsmiths credentials. So I don't have to have a question for that for them to confirm it because it's automatically recorded. Request description. Date preference. AM or PM. Online or in person. Fab. So that is a really simple flow, all set up. I'm going to press save. Saving. Might take a little while because it's saving to the cloud. We've got a tick, your flow is ready to go. We recommend you test it. Now I can't test it. If I go to this test button up here, you can see that there are no previous successful triggers in order to test it. So I need to actually test it manually by going to the form. So I'm going to come to my form. I'll just show you this is now empty. I'm going to click collect responses. And you can see I can now change the permissions. So only people in Goldsmiths can respond. And that's important. I could do it as anyone, but then it wouldn't require a sign-in. And if that was the case, I wouldn't then have the ability to automatically add in my email parameter. I would have to add in a question for participants to record their email address. But because my digital skills support appointments are a Goldsmiths only service, I need to have them sign in order to make sure that they're a student or staff at Goldsmiths. So what I can do is I'll just copy this link and I'll pop it in the chat. And you can go in and just fill that in for fun. You can make up your request. So if you have a go at filling that in, and I'll fill it in as well in another incognito tab, and we should see some responses appear in our spreadsheet. So we'll just pop in Chris Irwin. I need help with Power Automate. Let's have my preferred date as Thursday. You'll notice it's the American date format. Unfortunately, there's no way around that. That is a limitation of Microsoft being a huge American tech corporation. You only have the American date available, which is fine. You can get used to it. I want it to be Thursday afternoon, and I would like it to be online. I press submit. My response was submitted. I'll close that. Now if I come to here, you can see that it's automatically, there we are. You can see it updates in real time. Love it. Hi. So you can see that that automatically populates. Really, really straightforward to set up. And of course, people sometimes point out, well, when you do this, when you view the responses, you can actually open the results in Excel. That is true, but it means you have to constantly download the form and then share it with other people. Oh, I'm glad to hear. So the forms are great because you've got really, they look really attractive. You can add lots of custom styling. If you go to settings and styling, you can make them look really good just but with a few clicks. So definitely check them out. Where was I? So yes, you can actually, if you go to view responses, you can download these as an Excel spreadsheet, but it means every time a new response is submitted, you have to re-download the spreadsheet and then share it with your team. Using the Power Automate method means that this is all based in the cloud, and then I can share my spreadsheet with my team really easily. So we've got some responses. We don't need to worry about that because now we can go back to this. And if I go to test, I have to refresh it. Let me just do a quick refresh. Go to test. I can go to automatically and I can test it with a recently used trigger. Really important, if I go back to the home page, if I go back to my flows, so before we were on create, when we created something new, if I go to my flows, I can see all my flows listed here. And I can click on this and I get a little bit of information. I can see when it's been run recently. I can add some custom columns. So it's good to get an overview of any flows that have failed for whatever reason. And then if I want to go in and edit it, I just click edit up there. So now what we want to do is I'm not getting any kind of, when somebody submits a form, it's populating my spreadsheet, but am I going to have the spreadsheet open and be checking it every hour to confirm appointments? No, of course not. So I need to create an additional step or additional steps in order to send an email or send a Teams notification or something to notify myself, notify the team when a new response has been submitted. So what I can do is you can see I've got pluses between each step. If I click a plus that's between two existing steps, I can either add an action in between or I can add a parallel branch. Let's have a look for email. Now, there are lots of different emails, and I'm still yet to figure out exactly which emails are best to use. I think the Office 365 Outlook is the best to use. You have a few more options. And what I can do is I can just do send an email. Send an email. Send an email. I can send an email to myself. So I just type in my email address. See, there I am. And what I can do, because I've already gotten the response details, I can actually customize the subject of my email. So I can do this. I can pop their name, pop in some details like this, has requested an appointment. And I can actually pop some really useful information into here. There has been a new digital skills support appointment request. If I was feeling fancy, I could actually use some HTML and create a table, but I won't do that. What I can do is I'll do name, request, if additional formatting options, no. Name, request, date, time, format. So what I can do is then I can just do, I'll pop in email as well. So we'll do email. We can do name. We can do request. We can add in our date. Preferred date. We can do our time. We can do online or in person. I can change the mailbox where it comes from. I could CC in members of my team. And I can pop in the reply to as well. I can also change the importance. Okay. So I can do save. Perfect. And then what I could do is actually have a look on Teams. And what I could do is I could create, I'm just looking, is there a notification? Remember, create a Teams meeting. Create a team, messages. Let's do post a message in chat or channel. Oh, sometimes you have to sign in, which is fine. Just have to sign in with my college email, like this. It's fine, and I can post in. Just do that and see what happens. And of course, I could change this to I could pop this into a custom, into a channel. Don't think it's going to let me. I might have to have manually added in a step, which is fine. Let's delete that. Okay. Let's go back. This is what I mean about you need to kind of think in a very specific way. I think I might need to do a get or a list. Yes. So maybe I need to do a list channels. And then I can select a team to post in. So I don't have, I should have a test team really. Maybe I want it to go to the Digital Skills Ambassadors. And then I could do teams. And I can post message in chat or channel. And post it as myself. I can post it in the channel. And then I get these. Sometimes to refresh, you need to do this up here. So then I can do Digital Skills Ambassadors, general, and then I can just copy and paste this. Command C, Command V. So what I'll do is I'll actually, so that would be how you post it in a channel. I am going to delete that because I don't want the Digital Skills Ambassadors to panic. I will just do it as a Teams chat to myself. Let's do create a chat. I've done the wrong one, haven't I? How are we on? We're running out of time very quickly. Microsoft Teams, post card in, oh no, not that one. It's a shame you can't just select one to change it. You have to delete it and then add a new one in. We want to do post, message in chat or channel, select your account, post as, do as Flowbot. Chat. Myself. Okay. And we'll press save. So we've got our flow done. We want to test it. But I don't need to fill in the form again because it's already been filled in. So I've got some recently used triggers that I can use. So I can just reuse this one. Let's press test. And this is great because you get a lovely tick in how long it's taken next to each node. So let's have a look on here. Yep. So it's added it in. We've got the same response ID, which is fine. Let me have a look on my emails. I'll just drag this over. I've got this new email straight into my inbox, which is great. And then if I come into my Teams, I've got this as well. This automatic message straight into Teams. So my flow is up and running and working as expected. And what I could do on top of that is I could send it to a Teams channel. I could add in a button that my team can press in order to accept that request, and then set up an automatic calendar generation, or I could set up a function to reject the request because nobody is available, that kind of thing. So that's the end of that demonstration. Do you have any questions? Anything specific that you'd like to know? Or perhaps you're thinking of a specific use case, a specific project that you might want to pick my brains about. Well, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. What I would be very happy is if you could just fill in this workshop evaluation survey. I hope it's a bit of a tricky one to show people in an hour because there is a lot of functionality, but trying to create something that is useful for everybody is tricky. But I think most people probably would use it for forms. To generate automatic emails or to record data into a spreadsheet, which I think is really useful. But yes, if you could fill in that survey, that would be great. Feel free to email me with any questions. I'll pop my email address in the chat, although you've seen it up on the screen a lot. And if that is everything, if you don't have any questions, then that is the end of the workshop for today. I'll stop sharing.